What if your discipline isn't failing? Your identity is. Discipline without identity alignment always creates internal fragmentation and double-mindedness. You could say that you want change, but still see yourself as the guy who struggles. You could say that you want wealth, but still see yourself as the guy that the system is just working against you. You could say that you want confidence, but you still see yourself as the guy who's insecure and just trying to improve. Right? Your discipline is going to operate through your action, but your identity operates by how you perceive yourself. That self-perception is going to dominate how your actual behaviors and your actions are lived out. And your behaviors will always return to that self-perception, whether you realize it or not. Today, I'm going to give you the exact framework for how you can stop trying to willpower and white knuckle your way through discipline and to actually create an identity architecture that allows it to flow through you seamlessly and to walk it out and live it out as a part of who you believe you just naturally are. If your subconscious mind believes that you're someone who struggles in life, then your mind is always going to defend that story for you. Your nervous system is going to pull you back into what feels familiar for you, even if what's familiar to you is actually destructive for your life. Because your brain is always going to protect the identity that you have more than it cares about pursuing your goals. And that's why in the book of James in the Bible, it says, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Because you've been trying to move forward, right, while subconsciously being anchored to that old identity, to who you believe you used to be. And that tension, trying to walk through that, is continuously just so exhausting. It creates a feeling of being unstable and being fragmented, like you're trying to constantly having to fight yourself. And so here's the shift that changes this for you. Stop trying to fight that behavior first, and first change your identity. You see, when I was in college, I joined this group called Exodus 90. This was a Christian fraternity, a brotherhood of guys who were doing spiritual disciplines together. And so we would do cold showers daily, fasting twice a week, taking 20 minutes or an hour of prayer every single day, no desserts, having to work out regularly, right? Radical discipline, really awesome stuff. And I'm so thankful for how it built me to the man that I am today. But I noticed there was a difference between the guys who really struggled with this program and the guys like myself, thankfully, that were able to find success in it. And I saw the greatest evidence of that struggle, and the difference was in the guys who struggled with taking the cold showers and the guys that really didn't struggle with them. And the difference was in their identity and how they perceived that struggle. See, for me, I never walked into the cold shower saying, oh, this is gonna suck, but I'm just gonna find a way to get through it as fast as possible, right? This is what a lot of the guys thought in this. Whenever I stepped into that cold shower, I believed that this was awesome, that it was gonna wake me up for the day and give me so much energy, like it was natural caffeine, right? And it made me feel great, right? And yes, that water, it's cold, it makes your feet go numb, and it sucked, but that was something that I never allowed my subconscious mind to believe. And that's how I was able to go through that and enjoy it and perceive it as something worth the time rather than struggling with it. And that all comes to your identity, because your identity allows you to perceive these actions, right? And that's how you actually can live out congruence with what you say you want to do and what you actually end up doing. Because cold showers, they're not an actual sign of whether you're disciplined or not. You're disciplined because of what you say you're gonna do and what you decide to actually do. And, you know, this wasn't something that was heroic for me. It was just congruent with who I thought I already was. And so people called me crazy for this. They called me a psychopath. And maybe there's some truth to that, but the truth is that that water, it felt the same for all of us. And it all flowed from our interpretation that came from our identity. And so when you have congruence with what you say you're gonna do and what you actually do, then your identity is able to create a natural flow that can support that. And so this is why you could try to white knuckle your way through a new routine. This is why, you go through, say, a coaching program where you try to, wake up early, where you try to work out more, where you try to eat better and just add more and more things on top of it. And what happens is you might be able to go a few weeks, you might go a few months, and after a while it's going to collapse and end up leaving you worse off than you were in the beginning, because you're trying to add so much, and this is unfortunate, right? But you never have an identity that is anchored enough to support you in living out those actions. It doesn't feel natural to who you believe you are. And if you believe that you continuously struggle with temptation, right, you're gonna keep scanning the world for sexual cues. If you believe that you're weak, you might install blockers on your phone, filters, on your computer, and that affirms that subconscious identity that says I'm weak without having these things on my phone to protect me. But if you decide to believe that you have freedom in Christ, that you are a leader, and if you choose to step into that, you're automatically going to notice that you have opportunities to actually step into that identity and to live into them. And the thing about this is that your brain is going to collect evidence about who you believe you are. And so we have to be fundamentally careful with this, because when you try to improve, that old identity is going to try to pull you back into who you once were. It's going to try to overweigh those failures. It's going to try to prove to you, say, one relapse, see, this is just who you are. You can't change, right? And those 10 victories, that 1 month of victories, that 6 months of victories, that doesn't count. That doesn't mean anything to you, right? And so that's what keeps you stuck in that cycle, in that loop. And that's how the enemy wants to defeat you. So how you actually break this is to expose those limiting beliefs that are holding you back in that old identity. And you have to destabilize the certainty in that identity. And you don't install a new identity that's something so radical and so crazy to say, I'm automatically going to become the most disciplined person on the planet, and I'm going to lift 300 pounds on bench press, and I'm going to squat 500 pounds, and I'm going to do all of these crazy things and get financially stable and all of these things, right? You wouldn't walk into the gym and say, oh, this is my first time here, I'm going to bench press that 300 pounds. No, what you're going to do is build your way up to it, right? And so you have to create an identity that allows you to build it up with who you're actually becoming. You have to create somewhat of a future narrative for yourself that says, yes, I'm becoming this, and it's actually believable for me to step into that new identity. Not something so radical and crazy, a finished product that is so far, so unbelievable to you that you try to live into it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and you just fall flat on your face because it's not plausible for you yet. You've got to install a new identity that feels possible to you, that feels like your mind can handle that. And when you generate controlled evidence of living out that new identity that you're stepping into every single day, then your mind will start to believe it and start to affirm it for you. And people are going to start to recognize that new identity that you're stepping into. And they'll recognize it and acknowledge it about you and say, hey, I've noticed that you've made some great changes in your life. I've noticed that you've become more disciplined, more confident, these kind of things, right? And that gives you even more evidence than you could ever have on your own of that new identity that you've been trying to step into. And that creates such a solid structure and foundation for a new life, new discipline, new identity, that it feels just natural to who you are. And so over time, you're going to notice as you step into this identity that you stop trying to force this discipline and you simply start to embody it. You stop trying to be confident and you move like someone who already is. You stop trying to fight lust as someone who just struggles, and you act like a man who already governs himself. And this discipline becomes a lot less about your effort and a lot more about alignment. And that's the difference between trying to white knuckle your way and forcing change and becoming the kind of man who lives it out effortlessly. And that's the kind of identity that you want to step into. That's the kind of man that you want to become. And what I want you to do is comment on this video what your thoughts are. And then linked below, I have my Instagram. I want you to DM me the word ready. And I'm going to send you a document to live out this framework. And then I'm going to see through a conversation how we can actually see if I can help you on this journey. So I'm praying that this video has been a blessing to you, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless.